Okay, so welcome back, Elaine, officially to another Ask Go live session. Let's dive into some text for today. We're on to a new chapter called Forgiveness and the Holy Relationship. And the first section of it is called Bring Fantasy to Truth. So let's do that, shall we? Bring fantasy to the truth. This circles. Let me share my screen with you. Okay, so can you see the screen?
It's just doing its little circling at the moment. Just sharing.
Does it happen? It's not happening. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Just make sure this is. Looks like that's not responding. So close that. Okay. So forgiveness and the holy relationship. Bringing fantasy to truth is the name of the section. Forgiveness and the holy relationship is the name of the section. Right. Green. And why it's doing that. We have some white screen there. I've got a few too many apps going. Can you see that, Elaine?
No, it's just white. Yeah, just all pure white.
All right, the whole screen.
Yeah. Well, this at the back you can see the text.
Yeah. Google Chrome. I think it's Google Chrome. It's the problem. So let's close it. And hopefully that will work now. Okay, so let's try screen sharing again. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
All right. So I read the original, you read the alternative.
Okay.
Bringing fantasy to truth. So the betrayal of the Son of God lies only in illusions, and all his sins are but his own imagining.
Do you make it just a little bigger because I can't pinch it out anymore. It seems to just bounce back. I used to be able to pinch it out.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's good. Right. So.
Okay. There we go. I'll go full screen mode as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So number one, the betrayal of the extension of perfect love.
Yeah. The betrayal of the extension of perfect love lies only in illusions, and all anyone's sins are only their own imagining.
His reality is forever sinless.
Their reality is forever innocent.
It should be a small I. All anyone's sins are only their own imagining. It could be better. Maybe say every one of anyone's sins from just their own imagining. Okay, so number 3, he need not be forgiven, but awakened.
They need not be forgiven, but rather awakened.
And change that to need not be forgiven, they need not be released, but rather awakened. It's quite an interesting statement. So, can we really forgive someone? I'm going to leave that, I think. Can you really forgive someone in truth? Or can you just help them awaken from their nightmare? It's an interesting question. And, a lot of people think the course is all about forgiving other people.
Mm.
But actually, the course is about recognizing that there are no other people, that you're just dreaming. There aren't really other people. So you can't really forgive people that are not there. You can just let go of your own negative thoughts and emotions towards the illusions of people that you think are there. And that's what forgiveness really means. Letting go of those negative thoughts and emotions that are triggered by the illusion of people being there. That's what forgiveness really means. So I'm letting go of my negative thoughts and emotions towards someone is what forgiveness really means. Now it starts to make sense. Now it's doable. Now it's achievable, right? Because it's within my power to let go of my own negative thoughts and emotions. But if I have to forgive someone else who's apparently outside of me for their apparently unforgivable actions and behavior, then I'm going to struggle for the rest of my life. Because my ego is going to tell me, but how can you forgive such a horrible thing that they've done?
Well, it's not. It's just a dream.
It's only when you realize that it's a dream, that you're dreaming, they're dreaming, the whole thing is a nightmare, that you can actually really forgive or let it go and awaken from the dream. So yeah, the metaphysics behind forgiveness, it's important to understand them, because then you understand what forgiveness really means in the course's context, and you realize that the word doesn't really do it justice, and that's why we change it. Need not, because forgiveness is part of the traditional Christian lexicon, Christian terminology. Forgive, Jesus used the term. So what does that actually mean? Most Christians don't have a clue what it really means, which is why they can't really do it. But when you understand, it just means letting go of my own negative thoughts and emotions towards anyone or anything in this world, then it becomes very simple and very clear. It may not be easy. Okay, I've got lots of negative thoughts and emotions to lots of things and people, but nevertheless, I know at least what I have to do. I have to let go of those, irrespective of what they have done or not done, irrespective of what the world is doing or not doing. My job is to let them go. That's radical forgiveness. That's what the course is asking us to do. Okay, so let's carry on. In his dreams, he has betrayed himself, his brothers, and his God.
In their dreams, they have betrayed themselves, their companions, and their souls.
Yet, what is done in dreams has not been really done.
Yet, what is done in dreams has not really been done.
It is impossible to convince the dreamer that this is so, for dreams are what they are because of their illusion of reality.
It's impossible to convince the dreamer that this is so, for dreams are what they are because of their illusion of reality.
True. Only in waking is the full release from them, for only then does it become perfectly apparent that they had no effect upon reality at all and did not change it.
Only in waking in the full release from them, for only then does it become perfectly apparent that they had no effect upon reality at all and did not change it.
We'll change that around a bit to make it the full release from them lies only in awakening. Well, only then does it become perfectly apparent that they had an effect upon reality at all. And we can make that no effect on reality, and they had no effect on, did not change reality at all. It's kind of tighter. Just read that sentence again, right? The edited one, number 7.
The full release from them lies only in awakening from the belief in them, for only then does it become perfectly apparent that they had no effect on and did not change reality at all.
Yeah. Fantasies change reality.
Fantasies change reality.
And notice the capital R there.
Mm.
So what we're trying to do is, with our fantasies, change capital reality, which cannot be changed, which is changeless. That is their purpose. Yeah, that's going to be the same. So they cannot do so in reality, but they can do so in the mind that would have reality be different.
And that is their purpose. They can not do so in reality, but they can do so in the mind that wants reality to be different. From the top, the betrayal of the extension of perfect love lies only in illusions, and every one of anyone's sins are just their own imagining. Their reality is forever innocent. They need not be forgiven, but rather awakened. In their dreams, they have betrayed themselves, their companions, and their source. Yet what is done in dreams has not really been done. It is impossible to convince the dreamer that this is true, for dreams are what they are because of their illusion of reality. The full release from them lies only in awakening from the belief in them, for only then does it become perfectly apparent that they had no effect on and did not change reality at all. And fantasies change reality. That is their purpose. They cannot do so in reality, but they can do so in the mind that wants reality to be different. So it's
Okay?
so it's just the whole setup is a betrayal to the extension of perfect love because it's all an illusion, and anyone's sins are just their own imaginings because reality is actually forever innocent, and they don't need to forgive, but rather awaken, because in their dreams they've betrayed themselves, their companions, and their source. And
You just have to realize it's a dream. That's all it's saying.
Mm.
You just have to realize that it's all a dream, and none of it means anything. It's a big realization. But that's the only way you're ever going to forgive.
To
If
get
the dreams
real
are real,
radical.
you'll never forgive them. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
They'll be real. They'll keep triggering you. You'll keep saying, well, why is this happening to me? Why is life so terrible? Why is there so much pain? Why is there so much suffering? Why does everyone die? Why is it happening to me? And so on and so on. Because in your mind, it's really happening. Because in your mind, your fantasy of a separate self and the world as created has changed reality. And that's the purpose of the fantasy. They can do so in the mind that wants reality to be different. So we've gone into a little thought bubble in our mind. We've projected that out into the seemingly external world. We've got caught up in a dream, in a bubble of thought, which isn't real, but it seems to be very real when you're caught up in it. It's the matrix. It's the illusion. It's the dream. It's whatever, many, many names for it throughout history. And he's just asking us to realize that this is what's happening, apparently, and that none of it is ultimately true. So therefore, if it's not true, you can let it go because it's simply not true, and none of the images in the dream are real. None of it's real. It's either all real or none of it's real, right?
Mm.
That's the position of the Course. This world is either real or it's unreal, but it can't be somewhere in between. A little bit real or a little bit unreal. It's like it's one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
It's either all real or it's all unreal, which is why there's no order of difficulty in miracles and there's no hierarchy of illusions, because it's all real or unreal, and those are the only two categories. And you just need to remind yourself of that in your perception of everything. It's real or it's unreal, and correct your perception. If you're making fantasies real, then it requires a correction or miracle in order to restore your mind to the awareness of reality, which is awakening, which is released from the dreams and awaken. And that's what forgiveness is. So, yeah, really, really simple when you understand the metaphysics of the Course, but completely incomprehensible if you don't.
Mm.
And it doesn't make any sense. And you're going to be trying to forgive what you believe is real. And that's never going to work. That's false forgiveness. That's forgiveness to destroy it. I make it real. I get upset. I get angry. I get fearful, whatever the emotion is. And then I try to forgive it. Say, well, it's really happened, but I need to have compassion for the person who's done it because they had a terrible childhood. They're just playing out their childhood trauma or whatever it is. That's not going to work, is it? You haven't really let it go. It's still real in your mind. That's what we call compassionate or halfway forgiveness, where you're still believing in the reality of the dream. Only radical forgiveness will set you free, that somebody says, well, none of it's true. So whatever happened here, your entire life, your birth, everything in between, your birth and your death, every single thing, every person, every circumstance, every event, every goal, every dream, every desire, every fear, everything ugly, everything apparently beautiful in this world, it's all illusion. None of it's true. Underlying it, there is a deeper truth. There is an awareness that is ultimately true that underlies it. And that awareness can shine through the world if you're aware of it, which then is the real world. That brings your fantasies to truth and the illusions to the truth. And that's the whole process of forgiveness. So you still live in the world, but you're not of the world. Okay. So happy with number one?
Yeah. Yes. Good.
Excellent. Okay. So number two,
Mm-hmm.
you can
Do it the other way around. I'll do the original and you do the alternative.
if you want to, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. It is then only your wish to change reality that is fearful, because by your wish you think you have accomplished what you wish.
Therefore, it is only my wish to change reality that is fearful, because I think I've accomplished what I wish through my wish. That makes sense.
This strange, oh yeah, this strange position, in a sense, acknowledges your power.
In a sense, a strange position acknowledges my power. It's not true power.
Yeah. Yet by distorting it and devoting it to evil, it also makes it unreal.
Yet by distorting it and devoting it to, quote, evil, Remember, evil is just live spelled backwards. That's always a good way to perceive it. Yeah?
Mm.
It's just life upside down life, backwards life. So yet by distorting and devoting it to quote evil, it also makes it unreal.
You cannot be faithful to two masters who ask for conflicting things of you.
I cannot be faithful to two masters who ask conflicting things of me.
What you use in fantasy, you deny it to truth.
I deny to truth what I use in fantasy.
Yet what you give to truth to use for you is safe from fantasy.
But what I give to truth to use for me is safe from fantasy. Okay, and then read it from the top in the alternative.
Therefore, it is only my wish to change reality that is fearful, because I think I have accomplished what I wish through my wish. In a sense, this strange position acknowledges my true power, yet by distorting it and devoting it to evil, it also makes it unreal. I cannot be faithful to two masters who ask conflicting things of me. I deny to truth what I use in fantasy, yet what I give to truth to use for me is protected from fantasy.
Yeah, so what's he saying?
So it's just saying that our wish is to change reality, and that is fearful because we think we've accomplished what we wish. So it's a strange position
And it's a game
because
of make and believe. So we believe an untruth, and then we make up a reality based on that. We see it outside of ourselves, we
mm,
perceive it, which makes it even more real, which strengthens the belief, which means that we project even more out into the dream, and we keep making these illusions based on a false belief, based on our wishes. And so what we've wished for has now become true, even though it's not ultimately true. So it's a pretty strange position to be in, as he says, which is why this world is very strange, why it's actually upside down, why it's impossible, because you've made the impossible seemingly real by your wish for the impossible.
mm,
Because our minds have power, then apparently our wish is granted, and we now have this separate self and the world that it invented to live in. Hey presto, there we go. We magic the world up. We've invented this world, and now we seem to be living in this world in a body and separate from our source. The only problem with that whole picture is that none of it's true. We've lied to ourselves from the start. As he says, it makes this power unreal. The true power, which underlies all of this, is actually acknowledged in the power of your mind. The fact that your power of your wishes is so powerful acknowledges that your mind has power. But that power is being misused. That power is being used to distort reality rather than reinforce it. So you devote your mind to evil, then living upside down, living backwards. Evil is just live spelled backwards. Then this power becomes unreal to you. You're misusing the power of your mind to miscreate fantasies instead of abiding in the truth. Then he just brings in the idea of being faithful to two masters. Can't be faithful to two masters, which is an ancient, that's a biblical quote. It said this in the Bible. You can't be faithful to two masters that are asking conflicting things of you. Right? That's very obvious. One master says, "Go and get me something. and the other one says, no, stay here and serve me here, you can't honor both, right? It's going to be one or the other. One's going to be disappointed with you, and the other one's going to be happy with you, whatever you do. So you got to choose the right master, which in this case is the Holy Spirit, or moments of perfect love, rather than the ego. I deny to truth what I use in fantasy. So if we want to make these dreams real, and fantasy is typically associated with things we want and we like. So these are all the goodies the world gives you. Oh, but I really like, cute kittens, and I really like lovely sunsets, and I really like nature, and I really like a glass of wine, and I really like my special partner, and so on and so on. All of that is fantasy, which is then denied to truth. By believing in fantasies, you're making the truth that underlies them unreal to yourself and inaccessible. And he finishes by saying, yet what I give to truth to use for me is protected from fantasy. So when we really give to truth and we say, I'm giving my life to truth, and the truth is going to set me free, and truth is now reinterpreting the world for me. So I give all my perceptions to truth to be reinterpreted so that I can use them for my awakening. That's what this is really saying. What I give to truth to use for me is protected from fantasy. Right? The Holy Spirit won't allow you to believe in the fantasies. Okay. So any other thoughts on that one?
That's good. Yeah, that's clear.
Okay. Let's go to number 3 then. So when you meant, should we switch it again?
It's your turn for the original.
Yeah. When you maintain that there must be an order of difficulty in miracles, all you mean is that there are some things you would withhold from truth.
When I maintain that there must be an order of difficulty in corrections, all I mean in that there are some things I want to withhold from truth.
Okay. So you believe truth cannot deal with them only because you would keep them from truth.
I believe truth cannot deal with them only because I want to keep them from truth.
Handle them, Sean. Handle or deal with? Handle shorter. What do you think? Handle or deal with?
Either or, really.
Yeah. We'll leave it as handle. I think the sense is understood. People understand what deal with or handle means. So very simply, your lack of faith in power that heals all pain arises from your wish to retain some aspect of reality for fantasy.
Very simple. My lack of faith in the power that heals all pain arises from my wish to retain some aspects of reality for fantasy.
And we'll make that capital R, reality or fantasy. So what we do, what he's saying here is we split things off. We say, I'm prepared to let this go, but I'm not prepared to let that go.
Yeah.
And so we cling to our fantasies. I really like sunsets, or my special relationship, or my pets, or my hobby, or my alcohol, or whatever it is, watching football, all of these pursuits, and I'm going to still pursue that. And although I'm letting go maybe in some areas of my life, I'm not letting go of those things, which means I'm retaining some aspects of reality for fantasy. So if you but realize what this must do to your appreciation of the whole, exclamation mark.
What number was that again? 4. If only I realize that what this must do to my appreciation of the whole.
Actually, make it clear. What you reserve for yourself, you take away from him who would release you.
What I reserve for myself, I take away from it that would release me.
Make it right source. Maybe he's actually talking about him as probably the Holy Spirit, because the Holy Spirit's job is to release you, free you.
Mm.
I take away, not just changing around. So I take away what I reserve for myself, from my remembrance of perfect love, that wants only to bring me. Just read that again. Number 5, I take away.
I take away what I reserve for myself from my remembrance of perfect love that wants only to free me.
Yeah, I think that's a bit better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unless you give it back, it is inevitable that your perspective on reality be warped and uncorrected.
Unless I give it back, it is inevitable that my perspective on reality will be warped and uncorrected. And from the top, when I maintain that there must be an order of difficulty in corrections, all I mean is that there are some things I want to withhold from truth. I believe truth cannot handle them only because I want to keep them from truth. Very simple. My lack of faith in the power that heals all pain arises from my wish to retain some aspects of reality for fantasy. If only I realize what this must do to my appreciation of the whole. I take away what I reserve for myself from remembrance of perfect love that wants only to free me. Unless I give it back, it is inevitable that my perspective on reality will be warped and uncorrected. So again, it's just saying that there's to maintain this difficulty in corrections, I have to withhold some of the truth. So I believe some truth that I want to, which I want to keep. I want to keep some truth and then let go of the other. But simply, we lack faith in this power that'll heal all the pain. But we still want to retain some of the aspects of reality for fantasy, as you were saying, the glass of wine or the sunset.
And that's really the hardest thing for people to let go of, is the things they value.
It
If it's
is.
obviously awful and terrible and making you, yeah, I mean, the ego does have a sick attraction to those things as well. But there's a point where you go, this is just really, really bad. This is really awful.
Mm.
And I've got to find some relief. Okay, so then the mind's like saying, I've got to somehow get rid of this. I've got to free myself from this.
Mm.
So that's one thing, and we do have those forgiveness lessons as well, where something's really awful and you've got to let it go. But almost more difficult is the things that you value in this world. Well,
Mm.
you ask me to let go of my attachment to whatever it is that I value in the world.
Mm.
We all have things we value, if we're honest about it, whether
Oh,
it's
yes.
a lovely, a cute kitten or puppy,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
because that's one of yours,
Yes.
or it's a sunset, or it's nature, or
Yes.
it's a glass of wine, alcohol,
Oh,
substances, it's special relationships, it's
all
activities.
sorts.
Maybe
Mm-hmm.
I'm attached to an activity like gaming or sex
Swimming.
or there's all sorts of work.
Swimming in the
There's
sea. It's nice having a swim in the sea.
Yeah, it's nice, just don't get attached to it. That's the thing.
Yes.
And there's a subtle line, isn't there? Yeah, no, this isn't saying you can't do things that are enjoyable in
Mm.
life. Just saying don't get attached to it. Don't make it part of your identity. Oh, I always swim in the sea every day.
Yeah.
Oh, then now it's become part of your identity, right? It becomes like, okay, come rain or shine, the weather might be totally awful, but I always swim in the sea. So I've got to go for a swim, even if it's freezing cold and it's storming. And yeah, I give an example of how that actually killed someone. So this guy called Jim Fix, he
Mm.
was a pioneer behind the jogging movement in the US in
Yeah.
the 60s, 70s. Jogging was all the craze, and it's like, everyone's got to jog. And so in his mind, he was fixated, pardon the pun, on the side of the self-concept of Jim Fix, who was the jogger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he couldn't take a break. He jogged every day. He ran 5 miles every day. That was his rule, come rain or shine, because he was Jim Fix, the jogging man, right? So his self-concept got totally wrapped up in the activity. And because he was now a public figure, and he was probably writing books and giving talks, and you see, so now he's attached to it. So
Mm.
then one day he has a long drive. He's not feeling very well, and his ego says to him, "Well, you've got to go for a run, right?" And
Mm.
if he'd been sensible, he would have gone, "I'm really not feeling up to it today.
Yes.
I'll take a break. I just won't do it today. I'll take a break. I'll get some good rest after my trip, and then I'll hopefully be stronger tomorrow. And if I need a break tomorrow, that's okay. 2 days break isn't going to kill me, right?
Mm.
That's sensible. That's non-attached. But he's so attached that he's like, no, no, I have to go for a run, irrespective. I'm not feeling great, but my ego says I've got to do it. So he goes out, does the run. Guess what happens?
I can imagine.
Heart attack, drops
Yeah.
dead,
Yeah.
right? Now,
Mm.
it probably didn't have to happen. If he'd rested and he'd gone for a run the next day, he may well not have had a heart attack.
No.
But
Of course.
his mind body system was stressed. He'd been on a trip. I think he'd had some illness. All the
Mm-hmm.
factors were against him. It's like, this is the day you really don't want to be running, stressing your body.
Right.
But his mind's like, no, I'm not listening to that because I'm attached to the activity because it's part of my self concept. If I don't run, then I'm letting myself down, the separate self.
Mm.
That killed him, which of course we know the ego ultimately wants to do. So
Yeah.
is a classic example of exactly that attachment. Now, jogging, healthy jogging, yeah, go for a run, enjoy it, fresh air, exercise. Great. Maybe you want to do that a few times a week. But if you get attached to it, it becomes obsessive, then it's not healthy.
Then you're going down the, yeah.
Yeah. Another example of that, this lady was into being a fruitarian. I read her story, quite tragic.
Oh,
So
yes.
she got into it and she got all vegan, and then she just got more and more into it until eventually she starved herself to death. She wasn't getting properly nourished because she was just eating fruit.
Mm.
And eventually she died of like malnutrition.
Right.
But she couldn't let it go because she's the great fruitarian, and she's now got a podcast and she's on social media, and her ego identity had got wrapped up in it. So
Mm.
she couldn't let it go, and it became unhealthy then, see? So what was once healthy when Jim Fix started, or when this lady started, was probably quite a good idea. Okay, you're going to start some exercise. You're going to start detoxing your body by, cutting out meat and going more vegan. But then it becomes obsessive because the ego gets involved, and it becomes a core part of the self-concept, and then it's very unhealthy. And ultimately, in both of those instances, it killed those people, which, remember, is what the ego ultimately wants to do. So if you listen to it, it's going to take you down to death very quickly
Mm.
because that's its goal. Even though supposedly it's telling you it's good. I mean, that's the classic deception, isn't it? All
Mm.
this is really good for you. The more of this, the better. No, it's a lie because you're attached to it. It's actually not good for you. It's perpetuating, reinforcing this false self-concept, which aims to kill you, deny your true source, which is eternal, ultimately identify you as a body and kill you. And in those two instances, that's what happened to those people. And those are, real life scenarios. So
Mm.
quite extreme examples, albeit, but we can learn from the extreme examples, can't we?
Mm.
People who do that, you go, okay, well, how stupid were you? Okay, but hang on. Before you before you look at the speck in another's eyes, Yeshua says, look at the log in your own eye. Okay, so how stupid am I to still be valuing these things that I know don't really serve me,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that may be?
Mm-hmm.
Might not be seemingly as extreme, but still, I need to let it go and be honest with myself. So, okay, I can see I'm still somewhat attached to this. So my practice must be to let it go and, and not get attached to it. So I've consciously, I've been doing, I'm not trading, but someone else trading for me. I've consciously gone, okay, I'm not going to go look, right? Said what's happening. Ego's saying, go look, you need to know what's happening. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe look once a day, but I'm not going to get obsessed by this.
Mm-hmm.
That's a conscious practice of letting go and using the activity for what it's really for, which is to let go and to free your mind rather than get more attached. So then you can do these things, but do them from a forgiving perspective. Do them in a way that lets go instead of attaches you to this false reality. And that's living in the world but not of the world. That's living in the domain of the miraculous. That's living in a flow state, whatever you want to call it. Living the happy dream. We can do that. That's what the course is training us to do with the right mindset and intentions. Okay, happy to go on, Elaine,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
to number
You,
4 then. Switch it
yeah.
again.
So it's me, the original, is it? Yeah. As long as you would have it so, so long will the illusion of an order of difficulty and miracles remain with you.
As long as I want it to be that way, so long will the illusion of an order of difficulty and corrections remain with me.
For you have established this order in reality by giving some of it to one teacher and some to another.
Fixing that, so long will I still believe. I think that's better. Illusion, of an order of difficulty and corrections. You have established this, for I have established this order in reality by giving some of it to one teacher and some to another. We make that apparent order because it's not an actual order. For I have established this apparent order in reality by giving some of it to one teacher and some to another. So we talked about that. That lady was really controlling, but she wasn't a bad person.
No, 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 not at all. She was trying to
So
help.
there's an example of that split mind: some to one teacher and some to another. Right?
Mm.
She's not evil. Her
No, no.
intentions are good, but there's a split in her mind because some of it she's giving to the ego, and all of that desire to plan and control the future. That's egoic.
Mm.
But her intention might be good. She's trying to help.
Yes.
But there's a split mind. Some to one teacher, the Holy Spirit wants to help, but some to another, ego says, well, I'll come in and I'll help. But
Mm.
they don't talk the same language. They don't reconcile.
Mm.
But very few people have realized that. Very few people have the honesty to look at these incongruencies in themselves and go, okay, I'm out of alignment here, right? I'm out of alignment with truth. I'm incongruent. True integrity is integrity to truth in your own mind. So I need to get into alignment. I need to be integrous to the truth. That means maybe I need to let go of some of those behaviors. Obsessive planning, controlling to everyone else what they should do. Maybe
Mm.
I need to let go of that because then I would become more integrous and more listening just to one teacher rather than two teachers, which are telling me different things. And then when someone listens to just one teacher, they become integrous to that thought system. Right? So the integrous who become aligned with Holy Spirit, those are the enlightened beings and the masters of the world. And the integrous to the ego become, the really deeply, darkly evil ones like Hitler, various other psychopaths and dictators and all these crazy things they did, all these atrocities. Think of Stalin. I mean, he killed
Mm.
millions and millions of people. that's just an ego out of control. He's now integrous to the ego's thought system completely, and he's lost touch with reality and who he really is. So he has power in the world. He rises to control a whole country, but it's all upside down. It's all out of integrity to truth. So there's no real happiness. He couldn't have found any joy or peace or happiness in murdering millions of people. In fact, he was very fearful. He was constantly looking over his back, going, "Who's going to come after me?" Right? If you spend your life attacking others, what are you going to fear? Someone's going to come and stab you in the back, won't they?
Of course, yeah.
So he ended up being a paranoid old man. Had a long bloody reign, and you wonder if he learnt anything. He just got more and more egoic, as he went on. Anyway, so that's the integrous to the other thought system. But you become integrous to one thought system, the Holy Spirit, then you become an enlightened being. Then you become like Jesus and the Buddha and many others who've graced this planet with their presence. And that's what this course is designed to train you to do. Okay, so you learn to deal with part of the truth. That's who's reading what? Am I reading? You're reading
the original, yeah. And so you learn to deal with the part of the truth in one way and another way the other part.
So I learned to deal with part of the truth in one way and the other part in another way.
To fragment truth is to destroy it by rendering it meaningless.
To fragment truth is to destroy it by making it meaningless.
Orders of reality is a perspective without understanding a frame of reference to reality, to which it cannot really be compared at all.
So my belief in orders of reality is a perspective without any real understanding. A frame of reference for reality to which true reality cannot really be compared at all.
So, as long as I want to be that way, so long will I still believe the illusion of an order of difficulty in corrections. For I have established this apparent order in reality by giving some of it to one teacher and some to another. And so I learn to deal with part of the truth in one way and the other part in another way. To fragment truth is to destroy it by making it meaningless. My belief in orders of reality is a perspective without any real understanding and a frame of reference for reality to which true reality cannot really be compared at all.
And what's he saying in that?
Just saying that, if we're on one side or the other, then that's where the confusion is. As long as we want to be that way and believe the illusion of order, of difficulty in corrections, then we will be giving some of it to one and another and some to another. So we deal with part of the truth in one way. I've just repeated myself there. So truth is to destroy it by making it meaningless. So
fragment. So whenever we separate and we split things off and we don't see the whole, then you've made the oneness meaningless, haven't you? Because in your mind, any separation makes oneness meaningless. That's a simple truth. If you believe in one idea of separation, then you've made truth meaningless. Because the truth is perfect oneness. So it's very non-dual. It's this or that, right? You're going to believe in perfect oneness. If you believe in any separation, then you deny perfect oneness and you must believe in the whole of separation.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the system goes. I'm just going to put this up and show you the descent into hell again. So hope it behaves itself. So restore. Where are we? We don't want that. So there's the live stream. So let's go back to where are we? There's what I want. So the descent into hell is something to be shown. Let's see if we go to this page. That works. There we go. And descent into hell. So you believe in one tiny mad idea of separation and any part of the thought system of separation, then you must deny God or oneness completely. Because perfect oneness and separation from oneness can't coexist in your mind. Perfect oneness means there's no separation. Separation means there's no oneness. You see? Yeah. And that's such an obvious position. It's completely logical. But most people don't realize that. Even teachers, spiritual teachers, don't realize the logic of that. That you can't reconcile it. Perfect oneness denies that separation is possible. Separation means that perfect oneness doesn't exist. Those are the two extremes. Yeah. So that's really all he's pointing out here. Saying if you fragment truth in any way, then you've destroyed it. And that's what we believe we've done. We believe we've destroyed truth. I'll just mute you alone. Some bit of background noise there. We believe we've destroyed the truth by believing in separation. And if we believe in any aspect of separation, we fragment our minds and we say, well, I've destroyed the truth because oneness is no longer there. Actually, I'm believing in and seeing and experiencing the effects of separation, which is, of course, what the entire dream is designed to do. So you just got caught up in this insane idea of separation, which now perpetuates itself, and you've denied oneness. And so oneness is seemingly nowhere. The truth is destroyed, as he says, seemingly, and now separation appears to rule the world and your mind. All of which is the hell that he's teaching us to let go of. Okay, any other thoughts or comments or questions on that one, Elaine?
Yeah, no, I think that's clear, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Happy to go to number 5 then.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So your turn, isn't it, for the original?
I'll read the original. So think you that you can bring truth to fantasy and learn what truth means from the perspective of illusions?
Do you really think that I can bring truth to fantasy and learn what truth means from the perspective of illusions?
Yeah. So do I really think? It's a question. Do I really think that, honestly? And in this questioning, he asks us to really reflect on our beliefs. Do I really think that? Oh, okay, maybe I do. Maybe I just wasn't aware of it. But how can I bring truth to fantasy? So what people want to do is they want to bring spirituality into their illusions, and they want to spiritualize the world and say, oh well, my special relationship is very spiritual, for instance, because I'll now call it my twin flame. You see how it works?
Yeah.
You've seen it. No, this person, no, but I won't call it a special relationship, and it's just an egoic attachment. No, they're my twin flame, and they're my soulmate, and like it's my destiny to find them, and they weave this whole story in their mind, but actually it's just the ego. I bring truth to fantasy, and then learn what truth means from the perspective of illusions. Well, they never find it there because they're thinking in separate terms. Well, it's just me, and amazing, I found my soulmate, and it's so cool, and he or she is my twin soul, and I finally found him or her, and so amazing, and and I've heard a couple of people say this, and then you just kind of like, okay, well, we'll just wait for the lesson to start coming.
Yes, I've heard it as well. Yes.
Remember one time this lady was, oh no, he's like my spiritual warrior. He's amazing.
It's like, yes, I know. It's no different to,
So
yeah.
you see, you spiritualized the special relationship. And of course, it didn't end well. They ended up breaking up, and there was a lot of pain and heartache because the egos got involved. And then when you're nicely attached like that, then the ego comes in and starts playing games.
Yes.
Okay, now I got you really attached to this person, and this person is the love of your life, and they're supposed to save you from all of your illusions and from all the pain and the suffering, the misery of the world, and then they don't.
Mm. Mm. Yes.
And
Yeah.
then all the expectation is disappointed, and now it's their fault, and the ego blames them. How dare you? You were supposed to be my savior, and you were supposed to be my knight in shining armor, and
Mm-hmm.
rescue me and do whatever I thought you would do. This, and you haven't fulfilled my fantasy. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm going to hate you. Now special love turns to special hate because you are the source of my pain and my misery, and I'm doubly disappointed, and I'm more in pain than ever. It's your fault.
Mm. Yeah, we've seen that a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how it goes, isn't it? Special
Mm.
relationship goes sour, and then you get all the grievances and the the separation and the pain. Do you ever see a movie called War of the Roses? It's a very old one.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good
Michael
film.
Douglas and Kathleen Turner, I think. And
Yes.
that was just a class. Okay, there you go. We're all nicely attached. It's all wonderfully and special, and then it just like right now we're at war.
Turned into a war. Yes, I do
Right?
remember
Who's
it.
who's who's going to win? Who's going to win this war? And of course, neither of them are winning. They're both losing because they both attached to the ego,
Mm.
and so the ego is winning the battle in their mind, and the ego will make them suffer and die. So they're both losing. They just don't realize it. They think that triumph is triumphing over someone else, but actually they're losing the game of life. That's what he's saying here. They really think that I can bring truth to fantasy and learn what truth means from the perspective of illusions. Truth has no meaning in illusion. Um, where were we? Number two, truth has no meaning in illusion.
Truth has no meaning in illusion.
The frame of reference for its meaning must be itself.
The frame of reference for its meaning must be itself.
Yeah, you can't reference truth with illusions. And some people try and do that. Oh, well, it doesn't make sense because of this and this and this fact in the world. Because because the world is real, then truth doesn't make sense. You see, that's how the ego works. Well, how can everything's like here? You can see it and it's physical, and I can touch it and feel it and taste it and smell it. It must be real. So truth must be an illusion. But you
Mm-hmm.
can't do that. You can't reference illusions you can't reference the truth with illusions. Only illusions are the frame of reference for illusions. So when you try to bring truth to illusions, you're trying to make illusions real and keep them by justifying your belief in them.
Oh,
Okay?
sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Number three.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 4, isn't it? Oh, yeah. 3.
Uh,
4.
did you read? Yeah, I think we're on
Yeah.
four. So
4. When I try to bring truth to illusions, I am trying to make illusions real and keeping them by justifying my belief in them.
but to give illusions to truth is to enable truth to teach that the illusions are unreal and thus enable you to escape from them.
But
Number
to give
5.
illusions to truth is to enable truth to teach me that the illusions are unreal and so enable me to escape from them.
Reserve not one idea aside from truth, or you establish orders of reality that must imprison you.
I should not reserve one idea aside from truth, or I establish orders of reality that must imprison me.
Yeah, so even one idea becomes part of the prison of the ego. There is no order in reality because everything there is true.
There is no order in true reality because everything there is merely true.
Yeah. So read it from the top.
Yeah. Do I really think that I can bring truth to fantasy and learn what truth means from the perspective of illusions? Truth has no meaning in illusion. The frame of reference for its meaning must be itself. When I try to bring truth to illusions, I am trying to make illusions real and keep them by justifying my belief in them. But to give illusions to truth is to enable truth to teach me that the illusions are unreal and to enable me to escape from them. I must not reserve one idea aside from truth, or I will establish orders of reality that must imprison me. There is no order in true reality because everything there is merely true. So it's just saying to ask ourselves, can we bring truth to fantasy and learn that that truth means from the perspective of illusions? And of course, truth has no meaning at all in illusions. So it's saying we mustn't reserve one idea aside from truth and establish orders of reality that must imprison us because there is no order in true reality because everything there is merely true. So it's just giving illusions to truth. It's
Bringing the illusions to truth means you give up the illusions for the truth. You don't say, I'm going to make my illusions true by trying to spiritualize them. That's a spiritual ego. Or I want to make my special relationship into the truth by saying, oh, but it's spiritual. It's they're my twin flame and they're my soulmate. And, I got separated from them in Atlantis and finally I found them. I mean, you just the illusion,
get
right?
carried away. Yeah.
It's illusion. It's fantasy, obviously, except to the person who's obsessed by it, it's not obvious to them because they believe it.
Yes.
And the fantasy seems to be more attractive than the truth.
Well, which you
challenge it, they don't typically like it.
Well, you would expect that in like very young people because they haven't had the experience of life. But when it's somebody that's older, it sort of does look a bit sort of embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, this particular woman was in her 30s, early 40s.
Yeah, yeah, it's more
into yoga, and so the spiritual world was there, but it's like she didn't really understand non-dual truth, because very few people do. So what they do is they spiritualize matter, and they say, well, I can bring truth into my illusions, and I can make the world into heaven, and it's all going to be wonderful. And very often, the fantasy is about another separate self. And that's why the special relationship's so attractive. That special man or special woman that I find is going to be just amazing. When I find that person,
it's what you think when you're younger. Yeah, when you're very young.
Yeah, but people do it in their at all times.
Well, in their 40s, yeah, obviously.
Even later, like
oh yes, yeah. No, there's people in their 50s.
It's a very powerful illusion.
Yeah, there's people pick up with somebody much younger. Yeah, so it's true.
Yeah, the classic, midlife crisis. The guy's in his 40s or 50s, and he goes, "Well, I can't handle it anymore. I'm getting old. So, I'm only as old as the woman I feel. So I'm going to get a 20-something or a teen, even,
I know.
and shack up, and then that's going to boost my ego. I'm going to feel young again because I've got someone who's 30 years younger hanging off my arm. I mean, that's the classic, fantasy. And of course, it looks ridiculous. You're just like, well, where's the maturity in that?
I know, yeah.
Psychologically and spiritually matured to realize that that isn't the answer. It's not going to bring you what you really want.
Yeah.
But the ego is not a good guide. If you follow the ego, it's going to be very, make very unwise choices.
Yeah, especially as you get older.
Completely ridiculous. like when you're younger, maybe these things can kind of, okay, well,
You can get away with it, yes, because
a
you're fit.
teen, when you're 20 something, okay, you're kind of
Well,
living
you've
life,
got, and you've
partying,
also,
doing these things, and it's like, well, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. But it sort of starts to wear thin
it
when
does.
you're 40s or 50s. There's a story of I'll tell you in this context, guy who was a musician, and I think he was part of the band of Sher, the musician Sher. So he hadn't really grown up, and he was in his late 40s or 50s, and he was still doing all the parties and the drugs, snorting
Mm.
cocaine and all that kind of stuff. And then one day he was at some rehearsal or something, and he walked into the toilet.
Oh, I remember you saying, yes, it's a good
Yeah,
one.
there's this young, teenager, 20 something. She's snorting cocaine on the bathroom,
Mm.
and his immediate reaction, oh well, why don't I join her? And then something in him just went, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this? This person is like 30, 40 years my junior, and I'm still doing what she's doing. And I still haven't realized the folly of that. I'm still snorting cocaine on a bathroom,
Mm.
like in a public toilet. I mean, what am I doing?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. And
Mm.
he stopped. He said that moment was like a pivotal moment in his life. He just went,
Nice. Hmm.
no. And he walked away, and he never went back. He never snorted cocaine again. He dedicated his life to doing something truly meaningful. He set up a foundation because, you know, as you know, in the music industry, they do make money. So he had some financial means, and instead of wasting it on drugs, he started. I think it was a foundation to help underprivileged kids learn music or something like that. Um, and he said that gave me, much more fulfillment than drugs ever did, and all that lifestyle ever did.
Mm.
Um, so there was a moment when someone realized that it was a fantasy, that this wasn't going to ever work and bring him happiness. He saw through the illusion of it in that moment, and that's what we call a moment of insight, a shift where it's like, okay, I get it. And he changed forever. He didn't need to go to rehab and detox, and it was just like his mind had changed, and he's never going to go back there. And whatever so-called physical withdrawal symptoms he had, actually it's the mind that's the problem. The mind can't let go.
Mm.
So he just went, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to do that because that illusion is so awful, so painful
Mm.
to me, and I see through the shabby self-concept that the ego has given me that no, I'm not doing it anymore. No, that behavior is now incongruent with my new self-concept, and
Mm.
that's when authentic change happens.
Mhm.
That's when people really change, and it's permanent and it's lasting. He could have gone to rehab, and but he doesn't really want to give it up. And then what's he going to do when he comes out of rehab? He's gonna start again because he doesn't really want to give it up. And that's the case with a lot of these celebrities and stars. And you read stories, and they've been in rehab, in and out of rehab, because haven't had an internal shift. And they've gone, okay, enough. I'm done with that. They need to actually change their self concept and genuinely heal, and then the behavior will go. Okay, so all good. Are these examples helpful? But I think
Oh,
they
yeah.
bring the
Oh,
course to life, don't they? When you give these
they
examples.
do, yes. Yeah, I know you'd mentioned about that chap in his 50s and the teenager. I do remember that. It did
Yeah,
come. Yes, I thought, yes, that's a good example.
yeah.
Very
Of
good example.
bringing the fantasy to truth and saying,
Mm.
hey, this just when I bring the fantasy to what's true about me, it's no longer desirable at all. I have to let go of that behavior then, which was, a very negative behavior, and was hurting his health and well-being and finances and his whole life. So that destructive behavior was a fantasy, was a result of a fantasy, which he then brought to truth. And then once he did that, the behavior collapsed. He no longer did that because he didn't feel the desire to do it anymore. And that's the only way to true transformation, true healing, is you shift your self-concept by bringing the illusion to the truth. And you go, well, in the light of truth, I can see through that. It's just an illusion. And I realized, when you realize it's never going to work, I think probably in that moment, he went, what am I doing? This is never going to work. This isn't going to bring me any kind of satisfaction or happiness in life. I've got to stop now, right here, right now. That's the buck stops here. That's where the line is drawn, and no more. And if people have a shift like that, that is genuinely life-changing. That's what we call, shifting in an instant, a miracle in the moment, the holy instant, satori in the East. When you have a moment of insight like that and it's life-changing, it's called satori.
Mm.
Okay, I just get it. And in a single moment, your life changes in that moment. It's unusual. It doesn't always happen.
No, but some people.
But it can happen. And in that moment, suddenly you've awoken to who you really are.
Yeah.
And maybe the ego comes back, but never to the same extent. Sometimes it can be permanent. Instances of examples of Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie, they had such a profound shift that they never really went back. There's no real backsliding. They just remained in that awakened state pretty much for the rest of their life. So that's the power of this. If you allow this can happen at any moment. Just be open to it. Be open to your illusions being brought to the truth, and then the shift will happen. Okay, number 6. I think it's the last one. We'll do a summary. Okay, so I'm reading the original. Yeah? Be willing then to give all you have held outside the truth to him who knows the truth, and in whom all is brought to truth.
I need to be willing then to give all I have held outside the truth to it who knows the truth, and whom everything is brought to truth.
Salvation from separation would be complete, or will not be at all.
Awakening from separation must be complete, or will not be at all.
Yeah, so it's all or nothing, this. Yeah, there's a process to it, but in each moment, it's a decision between awakening and dreaming, between the ego and the Holy Spirit in each moment. And then we're all on a continuum of that. But if we keep making the right choices for awakening, then eventually we'll wake up to the completion of what we really are. So in each instant, you're deciding truth versus illusion, and there's no compromise in that moment. You might change your mind later, the ego might come in, you might vacillate. Yeah, but in that moment, you're awakening from separation and saying, this is it. This is the whole deal right here, right now. I'm making this choice between these two opposites. So be not concerned with anything except your willingness to have this be accomplished.
I am not concerned with anything except my willingness to have this be accomplished.
Yeah. He will accomplish it, not you.
Truth will accomplish it, not me.
But forget not this. When you become disturbed and lose your peace of mind because another is attempting to solve his problems through fantasy, you are refusing to forgive yourself for just this same attempt.
But I must not forget this when I become disturbed and lose my peace of mind because another person is attempting to solve their problems through fantasy. I am refusing to let go of my separate self's negative thoughts and emotions engendered by exactly this same attempt.
Yeah, very profound that. We'll discuss it now. And you are holding both of you away from truth and from salvation.
And I am keeping both of us away from truth and awakening.
As you forgive him, you restore to truth what was denied by both of you.
As I let go of my negative thoughts and emotions about my companion, I restore truth, what was denied by both of us.
Restore to truth, what was denied by both of us. And you will see forgiveness where you have given it.
And I will experience the benefits of letting go where I have given it.
Okay, and then from the top.
Therefore, I need to be willing to give all I have held outside the truth to it, who knows the truth, and in whom everything is brought to truth. Awakening from separation must be complete, or will not happen at all. I will not be concerned with anything except my willingness to have this be accomplished. Truth will accomplish it, not me. But I must not forget this. When I become disturbed and lose my peace of mind because another person is attempting to solve their problems through fantasy, I am refusing to let go of my separate self's negative thoughts and emotions engendered by exactly this same attempt, and I am keeping both of us away from truth and awakening. As I let go of my negative thoughts and emotions about my companion, I restore truth, what was denied by both of us, and I will experience the benefits of letting go where I have given it. So it's asking us to just be willing to give it all to the truth.
Yeah.
And
And
awaken from the separation.
very often what we do with others, we say, well, I've let go, but what about this person? I can see the mistakes they're making and it's really distressing. So then you're refusing to let go of your separate self's negative thoughts and emotions engendered by exactly the same attempt. I'll give you another good example, practical example of this. Byron Katie, after awakening, she goes back to her house. And of course, there's all kinds of dysfunction going on because she's been dysfunctional, right? She's been a dysfunctional mother. She's been an addict. She hasn't really looked after her kids very well. So she has a teenage daughter who's very rebellious, who's like, screw this, I'm going to go out and I'm going to party, I'm going to drink, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to do drugs and do whatever I want. And she could have gone, okay, young lady, you can't do that. You're grounded. I'm not going to allow you out the house because you're destroying your life because I've now had this epiphany. But of course, wisdom told her that's not going to work, right? Her daughter is going to say to her, well, who the hell are you to preach to me, right? Because you've been, addicted to codeine and alcohol and you've been a terrible mother, and so no, I'm not going to listen to you. That wouldn't have worked at all. So she didn't allow her peace of mind to be disturbed by her daughter's attempts to use fantasy to solve her problems. Exactly what he's talking about. All she did was she sat up. She said, okay, if my daughter's gone out on the town, I'm going to wait up until she's safely home. I think it was the days before cell phones. I'm just going to sit and I'm going to wait. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning, I don't mind. Right? And she did that for a couple of weeks. And eventually, her daughter came back one night and said to her, Mom, help me. I need your help. I can't do this anymore. And that was the moment that she was waiting for, right? But she didn't lose her peace of mind and go into the ego in how she dealt with it, which was a real test, but that shows the level of her awakening. When she came to that awakening and she had that epiphany, she didn't backslide in the temptation and go, okay, so now I'm going to be miss rules and regs, and I'm going to be like, no, you can't do this because you're destroying your life, and I'm going to try and control you and discipline you and do all that. She just was the loving, compassionate presence of exactly what the Holy Spirit does. It waits until you are ready to let it in. It's always there. It's never going to go away. So you go and you knock yourself out with all your egoic pursuits and all your fantasies. And then when you're finally ready and the pain is too much, it's there. It's not saying, oh, you should have listened to me. I'm not going to help you now because you should have listened weeks ago, months ago, or years ago. You know, you're such a loser. It just says, okay, I'll help you because you're ready, because that's its only function. So there's a really good example of exactly what he's talking about, of how to approach these, sometimes very challenging situations. Anyone who's ever had an addict in their life, someone who's difficult, who's abusive, well, no, it can be very, very difficult. But don't lose your peace of mind because the other person is attempting to solve their problems through fantasy. Maintain the truth, maintain true awareness, and let the Holy Spirit guide you in how to interact with them. And then that's, the miracle comes. And then you restore truth to what was denied by both of us. And I'll experience the benefits of letting go where I have given it. Exactly what happened with Byron Katie. She experienced, that must have been one of her first big miracles where she went, okay, this stuff really works, right?
Mm.
At that point, she hadn't started teaching it or anything. She was just trying to come to grips with her old life and go, well, okay, I'm coming back into the chaos of what my ego created. And I have to perceive it differently. She hadn't started teaching the work or anything, but that must have been a key moment for her going, wow, this stuff can really work. It really does lead to authentic change and it can help others if you hold to it. And that must have inspired her to say, okay, I need to get this out there and teach it to other people because look at how powerful it is. So she experienced the benefits of letting go where she gave them. And that created there emerged her special function, right? Her true purpose of being a healer and a helper, and her daughter was her first patient.
Mm.
Yeah, so amazing. Again, this example brings it to life and say, well, this is actually how it can play out in practice. If you will listen to these principles, if you will follow the truth, then you will see how it works in your own experience. And that miracle is more persuasive than any text and any amount of theory. So I use the examples. Because even though people listening might not have had these experiences themselves, you can learn from other people's experiences. Fortunately, you don't have to have it all yourself. You can learn vicariously from someone else and say, okay, I see the principles demonstrated there. That really happened. Okay, I can see exactly what Yeshua's saying here demonstrated in so-called real life. So, okay, the principle must hold. The principle must work. Therefore, yes, that convinces me to adopt this thought system and trust in the Holy Spirit, trust in the miracles to see me through, no matter how difficult the situation is. And realizing that it was never easy for other people as well. People look at people like Byron Katie and go, oh, well, you had it all really easy. No, she didn't. It was really, really difficult. It was really tough. Imagine having had that awakening and then going back to the chaos of your old life and dealing with all the dysfunction. It must have been really challenging.
Mm.
But she held to the principles that had arisen in her, that had awakened in her. She said, I'm not going to go back into the ego's way of managing the situation because I know that's not going to work.
Mm.
Even though most people would say, what are you doing? Why are you? I mean, that's irresponsible. Your daughter's going out using drugs every night. What happens if she overdoses? What happens if she has a car accident? What happens if she dies? Then you're all that, right? Fear, fear, fear. And she didn't buy into any of it. She said, no, I'm just going to trust the guidance that I just need to be this loving, compassionate presence. And that's the only way to get through to her and heal her of this. And then, if she's willing, then I can help her. But if she wasn't willing, I'm just fighting with her. Anyone will tell you when someone isn't willing, it's just a battle. It's an uphill struggle. They don't really want to learn. They don't want to change. You can't force anyone to change. It has to come from within them. All right. So let's look at the summary. It's not very long. Just summarize it. So you want to read it, Elaine. paragraph by paragraph, pause, just summarize the paragraph.
We would do one at a time to sort of, so it doesn't get
That's okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. The portrayal of the extension of pure formless awareness of perfect love lies only in illusions, and all sins are merely imagined. My reality is forever innocent, needing not letting go, but awakening in dreams. I have betrayed myself, my companions, and my source, but what is done in dreams has not truly been done. Only by waking can I fully release them, seeing they had no effect on reality and did not change it. Fantasies aim to change reality, not in actual fact, but in the mind desiring a different reality. So again, just talking about that betrayal of the extension of pure formless awareness, lies, illusions, and just to fully release it and realize that it's fantasies trying to change reality. But, the actual fact is that the mind desiring a different reality.
Yeah. So we just have to start understanding the difference between true reality, the capital R, and dreams. And understanding that distinction is what forgiveness is about. When we understand the distinction, then the natural direction of the mind is to let go of the dream. If you really see that it's just a dream and it's not really happened and it has no meaning, then why would you attach to it? Why would you give it any meaning? It's this deeper understanding that's required. So only by awakening from my dream can I fully let them go, perceiving, understanding. They had no effect on reality and did not change it. At all. Fantasies aim to change reality. Not in truth. But in the mind desiring a different reality. Okay, so it's a game of make and believe. We make up things and then we believe them and then we project them out and make up a reality. And now the belief seems to be justified. But we've believed it, we've made it up, and then the made up reality reinforces the belief, strengthens the belief, which means we project a false reality even more, and so it goes. We just go round and around. Projection makes perception, perception reinforces projection, and we get caught up in this perception projection cycle, which is all fantasy and not truth, just because we've desired a different reality. So my wish to change reality is fearful because I believe I have achieved this. This distorted use of my true power with a capital P makes it unreal. Because I cannot serve two conflicting masters. What I use in fantasy, I deny to truth. Oh, there's John.
Good.
What I use in fantasy, I deny to truth. What I give to truth is safe from fantasy. Hey, John, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, John. Sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
Hi,
No,
John.
it's okay. No problem.
Hi, Elaine. I think you're doing
Yeah.
a meditation.
No, no.
No, no, we're reading the
Okay.
summary of the text. A good time, really, because it's going to
Okay.
summarize the text for you. Just done the first paragraph of the summary. Elaine, maybe actually, John, why don't you read that again, just to summarize that, and then we'll go on to uh, number two. We've just finished number two.
Okay. The betrayal of the extension of pure formless awareness of perfect love lies only in illusions, and everyone's apparent sins are merely imagined. My true reality is forever innocent, needing not letting go, but awakening. In dreams, I have betrayed myself, my companions, and my source. But what happens in dreams has not truly happened. Only by awakening from my dream can I fully let them go, understanding they had no effect on reality and did not change it at all. Fantasies aim to change reality, not in truth, but in the mind desiring a different reality. My wish to change reality is fearful because I believe I have achieved this. This distorted use of my true power makes it unreal because I cannot serve two conflicting masters. What I use in fantasy, I deny to truth. What I give to truth is safe from fantasy.
Okay, I'll stop it there. So, yeah, we're up to speed. So, any thoughts on that, John?
Um, well, it's just kind of summarizing that whatever we do in the illusion doesn't actually affect the reality of who we really are, the reality of our oneness. Um, and we're merely doing it out of fear and a distorted sense of self.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The fantasies are often the most difficult to let go of, and these are the things we value, which seem to offer us something. We seem to lose if they've been taken away, whatever that may be. It may be a special relationship. It may be fantasy about what you're going to achieve, about how much money you're going to make one day, about anything that you value and cherish in the world makes this world real and denies the true reality. So then you're listening to two conflicting masters. On one hand, you want awakening. On the other, you're saying, I want the world to be better. I want my fantasies, fantastic expectations to be met in the world. I want to give to truth is protected from fantasy. Okay, so happy to go on, Elaine. Read the next paragraph. Believing in an order of difficulty and corrections.
Believing in the order of difficulty and corrections implies withholding certain things from truth. My lack of faith is here in healing arises from wanting to keep aspects of reality for fantasy. What I reserve for myself, I take away from it, who would release me, warping my perspective on reality until I give it back. So
Yeah.
just saying that, we're just keeping certain aspects of reality that are preferable to us, but it's just fantasy, and we reserve that for ourselves. But we're taking away the remembrance of perfect loves. Well, it's either one or the other. because otherwise you're just warping the perspective on reality until we give it back. So it's either one or the other. You can't just keep some fantasies and let go of others.
Yeah, and that's a very key message in the course. It's an all or nothing deal. You've got to let it all go. If you hold one fantasy, one illusion in your mind, then you've denied the truth. And as a result, you will still believe in the ego to an extent, and you will come back here. One belief in separation will pull you back into the belief in separation's construct, into its world. That's logical. So it has to be a complete letting go, a complete renunciation, letting go of fantasy, and a complete acceptance of the truth, and that's full awakening. Obviously, it's a process, it's a work in progress. Our lives are a continuum between the truth and illusion, but in each moment, we are making a non-dual choice between truth and illusion. And you got to recognize that that is the case. And once you do, this course becomes very, very simple. And if you don't see that, then the course is going to be confusing, and you're apt to misuse it. And what you try and do is bring the truth into the illusions and spiritualize the world, as we've discussed. Make your illusions true by spiritualizing, saying, well, for instance, John, my special relationship now becomes a soul relationship. This is my soulmate, and it's my twin flame, and I found my twin flame who I lost in Atlantis, and isn't it amazing? It's just fantasy, it's illusion. And you're spiritualizing the ego and trying to bring truth into the illusions, instead of bringing the illusions to truth and saying, no, in truth, actually, none of this is true. There is no special relationship because there is no other person. They're just a dream. There's actually only one of us. And actually, no one can be more special in oneness than someone else. We're all the same. So I can't have a special relationship with a twin flame who's more special to me than another, because that's specialness. That's part of the ego's thought system. So there's a demonstration of how this plays out in practice in that one instance, in that one fantasy that you bring to truth, or you deny the truth and continue to believe in the fantasy. Okay. Happy to go on. 2 more paragraphs. 3, actually, the key message as well. So as long as I maintain this, John, do you want to read that?
As long as I maintain this, the illusion of difficulty in corrections remains. Fragmenting truth destroys it by making it meaningless. There is no order in reality. Everything there is true. There is no order in reality. Everything there is true. Trying to bring truth to fantasy only justifies illusions. Giving illusions to truth allows me to escape from them, as truth shows their unreality. Holding any idea outside of truth imprisons me because there is no order in reality. I must be willing to give all held outside truth to it.
Just pause there, John. Just
Yep.
go paragraph by paragraph. So any thoughts on that paragraph you just read?
Well, it's emphasizing the importance of bringing illusions to truth. Because as long as we hang on to illusions, we're kind of just wasting our time, being imprisoned.
Yeah. This is one of the hardest things for people to do, to let go of their fantasies, to let go of what they think is good in the world and give it up for truth, because there's a tendency to think that I'm losing something. And as he says in the development of trust, he says, it seems like something of value has been taken away, till you realize that actually you're merely being asked to learn that it had no value. Remember that we did that the other day. Perhaps let's just have a quick read of that, shall we? Where are we? Development of trust. There we go. So just read, Elaine, maybe you want to read that. Paragraph 1, the development of trust. First, they must go to what might be called a period of undoing.
I can't seem to pinch it out anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Was it too small?
Well, it's okay, but it's just, it was so much nicer when I used to be able to pinch it out. Can't seem to, it just bounces back for some reason.
Okay, I'll make it a bit bigger. There you
Yeah,
go.
I can't see it, but it's, yeah, right. When this power has...
No, so there we go. First, they must go through what might be called. So this is the development of trust, which is Yeshua's take on the spiritual journey of awakening. He's saying there are these stages, 6 stages. So this is the first stage.
First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it usually is so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. How can lack of value be perceived unless the perceiver is in a position where he must see things in a different light? He is not yet at a point at which he can make the shift entirely internally, and so the plan will sometimes call for changes in what seems to be external circumstances. These changes are always helpful. When the teacher of God has learned that much, he goes on to the second stage.
Okay, so
We're just saying
does
this
that dovetail with what we've been learning?
Yes.
Nicely.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So fantasies are what we struggle to let go of. And so we experience letting go of fantasies as pain. Don't we? It seems like we're losing something of value, when actually their lack of value is merely being recognized. We have the opportunity, when these things are taken away, seemingly, to recognize their lack of value. But we must change our mind. We must see it in a different light. So sometimes we get a little bit of help. There's a change in external circumstances, and that change is designed to help us see through the illusion of the ego, through our fantasies, and let them go and realize the lack of value of our fantasies. That's why the change is always helpful. And when we learn that much, we go on, and then there's more period of sorting out and a period of relinquishment, all of which are part of this letting go process, letting go of fantasies, which are probably the hardest thing to let go of, because they seem to offer us something. If something's obviously hurtful, destructive, painful, awful, then not that difficult to realize, well, I just need to let that go. But when I attach value to it, when I give it importance and meaning and value in my mind, then very difficult to let go of it, because I feel like I'm losing something of real value. Okay. So really, really powerful principle that he's highlighting here. One of the major parts of our awakening is covered in this section of the text, and just one of hundreds. But that's how these profound truths are buried in this great text, which we have to kind of surface by studying it in this way. And we're really getting into the nitty-gritty of it, and then using the examples as well that I've used. Some of which, John, I've already mentioned to you, so I won't go through them again, but just kind of brings these things to life. Okay. So happy to go on. As long as I maintain this, the illusion of difficulty in corrections remains. I think it's John's turn to read that.
As long as I maintain this, the illusion of difficulty in corrections remains. Fragmenting truth destroys it by making it meaningless. There is no order in reality. because everything there is merely true. Trying to bring truth to fantasy only justifies illusions. Bringing illusions to truth allows me to escape from them, because truth reveals their unreality. Holding any idea outside of truth imprisons me, because there is no order in reality. So he's saying here that as long as we hang on to fantasies, we don't progress. And it's impossible to bring truth. It's impossible to make out that illusion is truth. Because it will never hold up. Whereas,
yeah, if we're honest, it only holds up when we're dishonest with ourselves. If we're really honest, then the illusions can never maintain.
Yeah.
That's why honesty is the second characteristic of God's teachers. We go back to the development of trust. After that, second characteristic, honesty. All other traits of God's teachers rest on trust. So, but you have to be really honest with yourself.
Yes, that's a key.
In order to be trusted. If you're not honest, then you continue believing the lies the ego's told you. Continue valuing your illusions. But if you can really trust and say, look, I'm okay. I know the truth, and I trust that the truth will see me through no matter what, even if it's difficult. And there's a process to go through. On the other side of this, there is love and peace and joy, and I'm trusting that. And I can afford to be honest. Okay, I've got to be really honest with myself and see these illusions and go through the pain of transformation. If I'm not honest, then I cling to my illusions because I don't trust that on the other side of the illusions is something better. Put very simply. So you see how it all ties together. I mean, the text, and now we're talking about it for teachers, but it is a very consistent thought system that he's teaching us that ties up, that makes sense, whichever way you look at it. It unites, it makes sense. And that's what he's trying to teach us, so that we accept this thought system as the full replacement for the egos ultimately. All right, happy to go on. Last paragraph, and then just one key message. So Elaine, if you can read that, I must be willing to give.
Yeah. I'm willing to give all held outside truth to who knows truth, ensuring complete awakening from separation. If I lose peace because another solves problems through fantasy, I refuse to let go of myself and keep us away from truth and awakening. Letting go of him restores truth for both of us. It's saying that if you're willing to give everything held apart from truth, then which knows truth, ensuring complete awakening from separation, where we lose the peace because another solves problems through fantasy. So it's just, letting it go and not getting swept away with the fantasy and trying to solve problems. It's just all part of the illusion.
And it's other people. So often we say, well, I've got it sorted. I've let go of my own fantasies, but someone else comes and believes in fantasies, and the ego gets you that way. And we've got to let that go too. Realize it's just another meaningless attempt by the ego to convince us that illusions are true and that fantasies are more powerful than truth. Okay. So really simple stuff, but very, very profound transformation as mentioned. So in this context, John, I mentioned an example of Byron Katie's daughter. After she woke up in her rehab center, she came back to the inevitable dysfunction of her home life. And her daughter was going out every night and partying, drinking, doing drugs. And instead of going, well, no, young lady, you're grounded, and you can't do that, and you're screwing up your life, and blah, blah, blah. All she did was she waited up for it. She just said, I'm just going to wait up until you come home and you're safe, and then I'll go to bed. She didn't lecture. She didn't say anything. She just said, look, are you okay? And what that meant was eventually her daughter cracked and went, okay, I can't do this anymore. Please help me. And that was exactly what she was waiting for. But she didn't allow her peace of mind to be disturbed by her daughter's attempt to solve her problems through fantasy, i.e. partying, drugs, alcohol, that's going to solve her problems. She didn't allow that to disturb her connection to her source, which she'd established quite deeply. And that was probably her first major test and her first opportunity to extend what she learned to someone else and heal. And that was probably the start of her career as a spiritual healer, which then gave her a gift, letting go, restore, refuse to let go of myself, and keep us both away from truth and awakening. And my separate self, shall we say. And letting go of my belief in fantasy, restores the truth, both of us. I will benefit from the healing I have given. The healing I have extended. Okay? That makes sense? Any other thoughts or comments or questions on that one?
No,
Happy? All right, let's do the key message then. So, John, if you can read that. It's just a summary of the whole thing in one paragraph.
the betrayal of the extension of perfect love lies in illusions. My reality is perfectly innocent, needing no awakening. But fantasies distort reality. By giving everything to truth, I ensure I will completely awaken. Letting go of my negative thoughts and emotions about others frees us from all illusions and restores truth to both our minds.
Okay, so what's he saying there?
We're saying that illusions distort are an effort at distorting reality, but by giving illusions to truth, we give them up, we let them go, and we free ourselves and our minds from the distortions.
Yeah. Okay, any other thoughts or comments on this one?
No, I think it's good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, simple, but really profound. the more I study this course, the more you go, this is a really simple, unified thought system that makes complete sense. So whichever way you look at it, whichever angle you look at it from, whichever part of it you quote, you see how it ties up. Yeah? So I took this passage from this section, then we went to the development of trust, and you see how it's an integral thought system. It all ties up, it unites. It's saying the same thing. And that's what he's trying to help us learn with this teaching is that it's one thought system that's united. There's one truth behind it, and that we can trust this as the full replacement for the ego. It takes a while to get to that level of trust, but that's where this is going. So it's a complete reversal of the ego's thought system, a complete replacement for the ego. And here he's picking out our fantasies and saying, well, let's look at your fantasies. Because if you don't let go of those, you're never going to awaken. And the ego's thought system will remain intact. So this needs to be addressed. And that's what he does throughout the text. He picks on an aspect and goes, okay, so let's deal with that in this section. So each one of these is really a lesson, but it's an in-depth lesson in understanding the ego and the metaphysics behind the course, rather than something that you practically apply and go, okay, so there's a mantra, there's an affirmation that I'm going to say and I'm going to meditate on. This is more deeper understanding, but both are really valuable and necessary for your awakening. Okay, so having said all that, we're done with this. I think great section. It's the end of it is fairly short, so I'm happy to continue. John, you just joined about 20 minutes ago, so we can do the workbook lesson. We haven't done that yet. If you'd like to, Elaine, if you want to stay, you can. Or, if you want to go, then
I'll be saying good night. Yeah. Okay. Good night, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Night, Elaine.
Good night, John. Bye.
Next week, Tuesday. I think Kim said she can do Tuesday next week.
Oh, Tuesday. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, Tuesday.
Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So see you then.
Okay. See you then. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Yeah. Namaste, everyone.
Stay. All right. So John, just the two of us. Do you want to do some of the lesson?
Yes, okay. Yep.
As you just joined, it would be a very short session otherwise. We just reversed it because Elaine starts getting tired at about 9, and then we don't finish the text, and she likes the text. So, all right. So this one is lesson. Let me just stop that. Start the recording. Okay, so let's have a look at today's lesson, which is lesson 137. At the top of it. Okay, so this is lesson 137, today's workbook lesson. Very simple one, very tied in actually with the text synchronistically. So nothing really much to translate in there. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. Just going to bring that up. Needs a bit of work. There we go. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. So yeah, just I think read the what's in the illustration, John, just to kick it off. It's kind of a summary of the whole lesson.
When I am healed, I am not healed alone. And as you let yourself be healed, you see all those around you, or who cross your mind, or whom you touch, or those who seem to have no contact with you, healed along with you. Perhaps you will not recognize them all, nor realize how great your offering to all the world when you let healing come to you. But you are never healed alone.
Yeah, so a great thought. You know, when you heal, automatically you radiate healing. Now that doesn't mean everyone's suddenly gonna become enlightened. It means that you're extending the light just through who you are and your change of mind to others. And then on some level that has an effect. Sometimes subtle, sometimes imperceptible, but you become the light of the world. You become a healing force in the world instead of someone who's part of the problem. You become someone who's part of the solution to the world's problems, and a healer in the darkness of the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's read. I don't think much to translate in most of this, so I'll just read the alternative.
Yep.
To speed it up, there's about 14 paragraphs or something. So today's idea, just in the alternative, remains a central thought.
Today's idea remains the central thought on which awakening rests. For healing is the opposite of all the world's ideas that dwell on sickness and separate states. Sickness is a retreat from others and a blocking of joining. It becomes a door that closes on a separate self, keeps it isolated and alone.
Yeah. So thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just saying that sickness is a way of isolating ourselves.
Yeah, very pertinent to what we discussed the other day. You know, it's how
Yes,
this
indeed.
works. And just another tool for the ego to perpetuate its separate self and block you off from others because only you are sick, only you are suffering, so you must be a separate self then. As he says, it becomes a door that closes on a separate self. It keeps it isolated and alone. So just highlighting what it does. And once we understand what it does, then we can recognize that and change our minds. Of course, the methodology is always to help us understand the illusion so that we can let it go in the light of truth. Just bringing the illusion to the truth. Okay, so number 2, sickness is isolation.
Sickness is isolation, for it seems to keep oneself apart from all the rest, to suffer what the others do not feel. It gives the body final power to make the separation real and keep the mind in a solitary prison, split apart and held in pieces by a solid wall of sickened flesh that it cannot overcome.
Right?
So it's saying here that in the illusion, sickness seems to be very manifest because it's in the body. Which is a solid proof of illness. But it is, at the end of the day, just a form of seeking separation.
Yeah, graphically describes keep the mind in a solitary prison, split apart, held in pieces by a solid wall of sickened flesh that it cannot overcome. So the body is the solid wall of sickened flesh that the mind simply cannot overcome. Now the mind is seemingly split apart, and the body is the confirmation, apparently, of that split. Now, suddenly you have a different perspective entirely on the world if you understand this. Okay, bodies are just there to confirm this tiny mad idea of separation is true. Confirm that the mind is split. Because look, I can see the mind, I can see separation everywhere. There's all these separate bodies. Separation must be true. What a mind job, jeepers. When you understand what the ego's done, oh my goodness. What a mind job. But we have to awaken from that. That's what this teaching is designed to do. Okay? Go on to number 3 then.
The world obeys the laws that sickness serves, but healing does not obey them. It is impossible that anyone be healed alone. In sickness, everyone must be apart and separate. But healing is their own decision to be one again and to accept their self with all its parts intact and unassailed. In sickness, the self does appear to be dismembered and without the unity that gives it life. But healing is accomplished as they perceive the body has no power to attack the universal oneness of perfect love's extension. So he's saying that the world does seemingly obey the laws of sickness. And sickness is a demonstration of separation. But once we change our minds, then we can come back to, and once we recognize that the body has no power to attack oneness, then we can start to let go of this idea of separation.
Yeah. So this is the only approach to healing that's really going to work. We just try and heal the body as modern allopathic medicine does. You're missing the point, right? The point is you're deluded in believing that you are a body. That's the problem. And sickness is a symptom of that delusion. So to really heal, you've got to heal the delusion first. And then the body will follow suit. It has in today's email and text message talked about Anita Mojani, who healed her mind. She had a profound near-death experience. She healed her mind of the negative self-concept that had made her sick. And within a few weeks, her cancer disappeared. And the medics had no idea why that happened. They couldn't explain it. Because it didn't fit into the paradigm of sickness, and that the body is real and the body is some kind of machine and it's independent of the mind. It didn't fit the paradigm, right? What happened to it. But if something doesn't fit the paradigm, then it means the paradigm's wrong. It means the model is wrong and you need to change the model. What they did instead was denied healing and said, well, actually, it was very likely the chemotherapy which kicked in. Right. So she's had chemo for 4 years. She's on her deathbed. You've told all the whole family to say their goodbyes because her organs are shutting down. There's nothing you can do. But suddenly it's the chemo that's doing it. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? It's a crazy argument. It clearly has holds no water. Given what she wrote a book and explained her whole experience and said, this is what I experienced. Clearly this was a spiritual healing. But the ego didn't want to accept that. So healing in that instance, and many others accomplished, as they perceive the body has no power to attack the universal oneness of perfect love's extension. So she perceived the unity that was there that her ego hadn't allowed her to see through the near-death experience. She came back, and because she'd had that profound internal shift, the cancer was no longer congruent with her mind's belief. And so it had to disappear. And it did. Even though it had virtually killed her. She was on death's door. Her body regenerated because the mind had healed. So really, really good example of, again, extreme example of how healing can really happen. But it's, it's a true example. And as far as we know, the only instance where someone has actually come back literally from the dead. Organs are shutting down. Once that happens, any normal medics can say, look, that's tickets. We can't bring you back from that because your organs are failing. But Anita Majani proved in that instance that no, there is no order of difficulty in miracles, and that even that is possible if the mind is healed. Okay. Happy to go to number 4, John. Sickness is my tempt.
Yep. Sickness is my attempt to prove that lies must be the truth. By healing healing demonstrates that only truth is true. The separation sickness wants to impose has never really happened. To be healed is merely to accept what always was the simple truth, and always will remain exactly as it has been forever, as it has been forever. Yet eyes accustomed to illusions must be shown that what they perceive is false. So healing, never needed by the truth, must demonstrate that sickness is not real. So he's saying here that sickness is our attempt to prove that separation is true, whereas healing demonstrates that only oneness is actually the real truth.
Yeah. And you notice, you said in our discussion, how seductive the ego is. It pulls you in and it says, you use the word collude. I'm colluding with the ego to believe this. We do that. Our minds want to do that. There's a strong pulling power to illusions. Otherwise, we would never believe that. But healing says no. It's it's the counterforce to this. It's a counter dream, as he says, that awakens you from this dream of sickness, this nightmare of sickness. He says, no, that's not actually the truth. You're not perceiving it correctly. So never needed by the truth. In truth, you can't be sick, but in an illusion, you can be sick. So now you need a correction of the illusion and the dawning of the truth, awakening to the truth in your mind, which demonstrate that sickness isn't real. And I use Anita Majani's example because it's an extreme example. It's a very good illustration of these principles. That healing demonstrates that sickness isn't real. How can you heal from terminal cancer, your organs shutting down, your body virtually on death's door, hours away from death? All of that is turned around when you have a change of mind. That shows that the body is not more powerful than the mind. And as I said, the medical industry, doctors couldn't accept that because it violated the paradigm of allopathic medicine that no, the body is more important than the mind, and that we are just a body, right? Even the brain, our consciousness is seen as a product of brain function in that confused view of the world. Okay, so any other comments on that? Go to number 5. Happy with that?
Yeah, happy with that.
Okay, so healing might be called a counter dream.
Therefore, healing might be called a counter dream that cancels out the dream of sickness in the name of truth, but not in truth itself. Just as letting go overlooks all sins that were never committed, healing removes all illusions that have not occurred. Just as the real world will arise to take the place of what has never been at all, healing offers only restitution for imagined states and false ideas that dreams embroider into pictures of the truth. So he's saying here that we might view healing as being the antidote to the dream of sickness. But in actual fact, just as letting go overlooks all sins that were never in reality committed. True.
And they're the same process. Healing, forgiveness, letting go, it's all the same. It's one process. Letting go is healing, is forgiveness, is awakening. Whatever you call it, it's the same process. It just uses different terms in different contexts, because healing is appropriate when you're dealing with sickness. People understand that. Okay, so it's about healing my sickness. Understand, well, how do you do that? You let go of your delusion that you're a body. That's how you do that. The sickness is trying to get you to believe that you're a body. That's the problem. And of course, the medical industry don't tell you that, because they believe that you're a body. Their whole paradigm is based on the illusion of the body's reality, isn't it? So to say that you're not a body then denies the very foundation of the whole thought system that underpins medicine, traditional medicine anyway. Fortunately, more and more of them are saying, okay, maybe the mind actually plays a much bigger part. And some are going as far as to say, but the mind is actually everything. Healing in the mind is everything, and the body will follow the mind. So focus on the mind rather than all the magic solutions that allopathic medicine has come up with, and that's where healing lies. So that's the most advanced, awakened physicians are saying that. Most of them still believe that our consciousness is a product of brain function. Our body is some kind of machine that then just needs to be treated accordingly, whatever, with an operation, with a magic pill, with the treatment that's magically going to fix the body. That has no relation to the person's mind. Crazy. That's just, the thought system is totally wrong. So of course that system of healing isn't going to really be a system of healing. It's going to be a system of sickness. It reinforces sickness rather than brings about healing. Okay, so healing is just the correction of all that, restitution for imagined states and false ideas that dreams embroider into pictures of the truth. So our sick dreams, the dream of being sick, the dream of our body being weak and sick and aging and vulnerable and dying, is just exactly this: the ego embroidering these fantasies into a picture of the truth and showing it to us instead of the truth. The veil of illusion, it's called in spiritual teachings, that covers over the truth of our pure formless awareness of perfect love. Okay. So number 6. I'll read the original, you read the alternative, because there's a bit to translate here. Christ comes into it. So, yet think not healing is unworthy of your function here.
Yet I will not think that healing is unworthy of my function here.
For Antichrist becomes more powerful than Christ to those who dream the world is real.
My false self becomes more powerful than my true self when I dream the world is real.
The body seems to be more solid and more stable than the mind.
My body seems to be more solid and stable than my mind.
And love becomes a dream, while fear remains the one reality that can be seen and justified and fully understood.
And love becomes a dream, while fear remains the one reality that is fully justified and soul can perceive and understand.
So you need to say, be perceived. can be perceived and understood. Okay? Comments on that?
Well, it's saying that it's encouraging us not to think that healing is unworthy of our role here.
Mm.
Because if we don't take that on board, we are likely to become prey to our sense of false self.
Yeah, it's really important that we realize what level we're at. So again, we had this discussion last week, didn't we? But going to it again. Healing is at this level, between the illusion, believing in the reality of this world, of time and space and everything that seems to happen here, and healing, that's the last description of this process of transformation, awakening from the attachment to the dream, from believing that I'm a separate self in the dream. Healing is the process of letting that go and realizing that you are your true self or Christ and nothing else. So this is your function. It's not unworthy of your function. It's your whole function here. Healing is your function. Forgiveness is your function. Letting go is your function. At-one-ment, awakening is your function. It's all saying the same thing, whatever term you use, it's the same. This process is your only true function here. And that is a necessary process that you have to go through in order to identify with your true self and ultimately reunite your mind with God, being pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is level 1. So what a lot of teachers do is they say, well, none of this really exists. So you're just pure formless awareness of perfect love. None of this has really happened. So none of this is real. So you don't need to look at any of it. You don't need to heal any of it, right? That's called metaphysical ghosting. David Hoffmeister had a term, or spiritual bypassing. Think, okay, well, I'll go to level 1, and from level 1 perspective, I'm totally healed and there's nothing to do. And so, okay, great, there's nothing to do. So I'm still in my dream, but none of this is real. And whatever's coming up, I'm just going to ghost over it and say that it's not real without really looking at it and letting it go. That's what metaphysical ghosting is. And so then the ego is using the truth to actually preserve itself. That's how cunning it is. And I've seen this in action. I remember once we had an argument with a lady about, it was actually about David Hoffmeister. He was coming to South Africa. And she wanted to sort of take charge of it. And then at the end, she sends me this really like attacking, condemning email, and then says, "Let the healing begin." I'm going, well, hang on, you just spent the whole the whole email attacking and judging me. How can you say, "Let the healing begin"? And then I said, well, maybe we can have a Zoom call and someone else can facilitate it, and maybe some healing could be done. And the answer was no, it's all an illusion anyway. So, we don't need to heal. And that was exactly metaphysical ghosting. It's like, so we don't really want to go through that difficult process of, okay, so let's have the conversation. Let's bring up all this stuff. Let's look at it. Let's really let it go, because we're believing that we're here, but actually we're not. We've still got all the ego very much intact, and we don't really want to look at it. And so we just ghost over the top of it. Do you see the difference, John?
Yeah.
You see the level confusion there. And how that level confusion actually promotes you being stuck and keeps the ego intact. And there's been many people who do this with the Course. Oh, well, it's all an illusion, so we don't really need to worry. They don't really want to look at their stuff. And they don't really want to go through the process of healing it, which is exactly what the Course is guiding them to do. So they think that they're listening to the Course and they're going, well, I'm so superior because I'm just at level 1 and you people are all asleep in level 2 and you haven't realized the truth and I'm so special. And that's called spiritual ego. Spiritual bypassing goes along with it. It's metaphysical ghosting. It's all the same thing. And you've probably encountered, you've probably seen it. We've all probably done it to an extent ourselves, if we're honest. But you know, it's a sneaky ego. It's very sneaky because it's using the truth to deny the truth and deny the process that you need to go through in order to heal and awaken, which then means you'll never get there, right? So then the ego maintains some kind of abstract fantasy of oneness, but actually doesn't really experience it, doesn't really know it. It's just an idea, a concept, which becomes another block to the awareness of truth, to pure formless awareness of perfect love. Okay, so happy with that? Should we go on?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we can read the alternative here. Forgiveness just becomes letting go. It's really the only translation there. So just as forgiveness or letting go shines away.
Just as letting go shines away all sin and the perception of the real world will take the place of what I made. So healing must replace the fantasies of sickness which I used to deny the simple truth. When I have perceived that sickness disappears in spite of all the laws that hold it is real, then my questions will have been answered, and I will no longer value or obey these laws. So it's saying just as letting go releases misperceptions in the world, healing will replace the fantasies of sickness.
Yeah. So it's equating them, yeah? Letting go and perceiving the real world are equated with healing. It's all the same thing, really. There's just different terminology. Whether you call it healing or you call it letting go, or you call it forgiveness, or you call it miracles, or surrender, or awakening, or at one-ment. It's the same process, right? That's why I've put all those terms there. And there's probably others, but that covers most of them that are used in the course and in other teachings. You know, the course doesn't talk about transformation very much, but in some teachings they use that word. It's about transformation, intuition, guidance, healing. It's all the same process. That's what we've got to understand. And that we've got to go through that process. You know, to get to the other side, if there's a chasm here, you've got to cross the bridge to get to the other side. There's no going around that. You've got to walk over the bridge step by step and have the courage to do that. And that's exactly what the course is guiding us to do. You can't just fly over, unfortunately. You know, that's the attempt to metaphysically ghost and go, I'm not going to take each step and undo the ego step by step. I'm just going to pretend that I'm on the other side already when I'm not. And that's a self-deception, isn't it? That's not being honest with yourself. Spiritual ego again. So that happens quite a lot with the course, especially in newbies and teachers. You go, oh, no, I'm so enlightened now, and I've really got this, and so I'm done, and all my students are on a lower level, so I can't admit any weakness. So I'm not actually going to continue with this process. I'm just going to pretend that I'm awakened. But then that wears a bit thin because you see in their behavior that they're not very clearly. Otherwise, they wouldn't be behaving that way. And I include myself in that at times in my journey. It's like, okay, I'm just pretending. It's the spiritual ego. It's not authentic. It's only when you really struggle and suffer that you become more authentic, which is what the struggling and suffering is really for. To bring your mind into alignment with into alignment with your true self, and give up all the fantasies that it has. Because we can have fantasies about truth and about reality and about enlightenment, can't we? Those are some of the biggest fantasies to undo. To connect it with what we've just read in the text. Okay. So happy to go on to number 8. Healing is freedom.
Yes. Be helpful if we could finish by 10, Jono.
Okay. There's a few more paragraphs to go. I think it's about 14 paragraphs. So we crack on with it. We might get there.
Yeah. Healing is freedom, for it demonstrates that dreams will not prevail against the truth. Healing is shared, and through this attribute, it proves that laws that are opposite to the laws of sickness that seem to make sickness inevitable are more powerful than their sickly opposites. Healing is strength, for through its gentle hand, my weakness is overcome, and minds that were walled off within a body are free to join with other minds and be forever strong. So it's saying here that healing is freedom. It demonstrates that healing demonstrates the falseness of dreams, and healing is always shared. It's always good for everybody.
Okay, happy with that? Should we go on?
Yep, let's keep going.
Okay. Let's read this one in the original and alternative. So, healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange of all the world of sorrow, a world where sadness cannot enter, are the means by which the Holy Spirit urges you to follow him.
Healing, healing, letting go, and the glad exchange of the whole world of sorrow, for a world where sadness cannot enter, are the means by which the remembrance of perfect love urges me to follow it.
Gentle lessons teach how easily salvation can be yours, how little practice you need undertake to let his laws replace the ones you made, to hold yourself a prisoner to death.
Its gentle lessons teach how easily I can awaken and how little I need to practice to let its laws replace the ones I made, to hold myself a prisoner to death.
His life becomes your own as you extend the little help he asks in freeing you from everything that ever caused you pain.
Its awareness becomes my own as I extend the little help it asks me. Its awareness becomes my own as I extend the little help it asks in freeing me from everything that ever caused me pain.
And then from the top,
Healing, letting go, and the glad exchange of the whole world of sorrow for a world where sadness cannot enter are the means by which the remembrance of perfect love urges me to follow it. Its gentle lessons teach how easily I can awaken and how little I need to practice to let its laws replace the ones I made to hold myself a prisoner to death. The awareness becomes my own as I extend the little help it asks from me to free me from everything that ever caused me pain.
yeah, and then, there's illustrations, quite nice. Forgiveness shines away sin. The real world must occupy the place of what you made, so healing must replace the fantasies of sickness. And then just read that one, healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange.
Healing, forgiveness, and the glad exchange of all the world of sorrow for a world where sadness cannot enter are the means by which the Holy Spirit urges you to follow him.
And then his life becomes your own.
His life becomes your own as you extend the little help he asks in freeing you of everything that ever caused you pain.
So this is the surrender to God. You've surrendered your life to the Holy Spirit, you've surrendered to God, and it's living through you. His life becomes your own. its awareness becomes my own, is how we translate that. The merging of the Son and the Father, the source and its extension. You become one with it. It becomes you. You become it. There's no longer any separation, and it lives through you, and it extends through you into the world to free you and everyone else from all pain and all suffering. And that's the awakened state. That's the enlightened state that Yeshua's training us to get into and to stay in. Okay? Happy with that?
Yep, good with that.
Okay, so this one's just an alternative. As I let myself be healed.
As I let myself be healed, I perceive all those around me who cross my mind, whom I touch, or those who seem to have no contact with me, healed along with me. Perhaps I will not recognize them all, nor realize how great my gift is to everyone when I let myself be healed. But I am never healed alone, and many, many people will receive the gift I receive when I am healed. So he's stressing, as in the first sentences that we looked at, that when we are healed, we are never healed alone.
Yeah, so he brings it back to that central idea. But has gone through a whole lot of teaching to get us there, which is the idea of these lessons. And I mean, it never fails to astonish me. I've read this lesson easily 20 times. I've been doing the course 20 years, almost. And yet still there's so much meaning in it. It's so profound.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just amazing that you can keep reading and rereading the same text and it's fresh every year.
Yeah, it is.
Quite astonishing, really, which is why the course is so powerful and timeless and profound. The great teachings, the test of truth is that that has deeper levels of significance. But as you get more into it, these deeper levels start revealing themselves, and you just never get tired of it. It's like this endless well of, well, I'm just going deeper and deeper, and it keeps feeding me and nourishing me. It's not like, in the first reading of this, you don't really get it, do you? How can you possibly get the depth and profundity of it when you first read a lesson like this? You just don't get it.
No.
But maybe on the 10th or the 15th or the 20th time, you start going, okay, I can really appreciate what he's saying. And that makes so much more sense than it did 15, 20 years ago when I first read it. Because, I've been through this whole education process. And that's where like reading the text can really help, because you start understanding the thought system, and then everything makes sense from the context of that framework. If you don't understand the framework of the metaphysics, then you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, let's carry on. We've got a few more minutes before 10. So I'll just read the alternative. God has just become pure formless awareness of perfect love. It's a new translation there. So
those who are healed become the instruments of healing. Nor does time elapse between the moment they are healed and all the grace of healing they are called on to give. What is opposed to pure formless awareness of perfect love does not exist, and whoever does not accept it becomes a haven where the weary can rest. For I will realize truth and bring all my illusions to truth through this acceptance. So it's really saying the same thing again, actually. As we are healed, we become instruments of healing.
Mm. And I become the example of this healing. For others to follow. Okay.
Yep.
Happy to go on. Number 12.
Yeah, do I not want to be a willing host to pure formless awareness of perfect love? I only invite myself to be at home. And can I really refuse this invitation? If I ask the inevitable to occur, I will never fail. The other choice is to ask what cannot be to be, and this can never succeed. Today I ask that only truth be in my awareness so that thoughts of healing will radiate outwards from what is healed to what must yet be healed, in the awareness that they will both occur simultaneously.
Okay.
I was saying that it's really saying, why would you not want to be a host to pure formless awareness?
The translation there is offer shelter to God's will. What he means is you're hosting this awareness. You're saying, I will be a host or the channel of this awareness, and it will come into my mind, and I'll accept it rather than resist it, and I'll allow it to extend through me, through my thoughts, my words, and my actions into the world. And I'm really just inviting myself to be at home finally, instead of rejecting my true self or Christ. I'm accepting it.
Yeah.
If I ask the inevitable occur, I will never fail. Other choice is to ask what cannot be to be, and this can never succeed. Right? So we're asking what cannot be, what is impossible, maybe might be better. But it cannot be, and yet we have an illusion that it can be. That's the whole problem. It's impossible, but we wanted it so much that we made it seemingly real. That's the whole delusion of the ego. What is impossible to be real? That's the whole fantasy of the ego, asking what is impossible to be real. And this can obviously never succeed because it's impossible. But we need to recognize that, we need to realize that. So today I ask only that only truth in my awareness, so the thoughts of healing will radiate outwards. And what is healed to what must yet be healed, and awareness that they will both occur simultaneously. So you see, this is how it works. You start at this level. You go, okay, so in the dream, apparently there's separate cells, apparently healing is necessary, but I awaken from it by realizing that actually just by perceiving it and letting it go, it's done. And so the oneness is still there. And so I bridge the gap. In that moment, I'm saying, I'm letting go of all of this, I'm not making it real, and I'm taking myself back to the true self, to this idea that I'm one self united with someone else. And that happens simultaneously. It must, because this has always been true. You know? So time collapses into eternity in that moment, and that's where the healing happens. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Very profound, amazing. What he's teaching us is such a profound mind training process. But we just got to go through the steps to understand it. That's what the lessons and the text are about. Okay, so then just a couple more to go. I will remember that my functions let my mind every hour.
I will remember that my function is to let my mind be healed every hour so that I may extend healing to the world, exchanging curse for blessing, pain for joy, and separation for the peace of perfect love. Is not a minute of every hour worth the giving to receive a gift like this? Is not a little time a small expense to offer for the gift of everything? So he's encouraging us here to spend a minute every hour with the lesson and reinforcing it.
And it's repetition. What he's saying is, the more you repeat this, the more this is going to sink in. And you spend so long thinking of egoic thoughts, you need to repeatedly remind yourself of the truth. That's why I'm saying every hour. So every hour you remind yourself, in that minute that you take, you correct any misperceptions, you do the healing. And so healing is built into your day. In these little practice periods, these breath breaks, you are actually letting go of the ego real time in those moments, in that minute. And that accumulates. If you keep doing that day in, day out, that time accumulates. And so a minute doesn't sound like a long time. If you do it every hour, and there's 16 hours in the day, that's 16 minutes plus your longer meditations, which are 10 to 15 minutes. So by the time you add all that up, you've done nearly an hour of spiritual practice in the 24 hours. And then it starts to accumulate and build. And of course, if you never do that, then it never happens. And the ego remains, lodged in your consciousness. Okay, and then he says, this is the longer one. Yet I must be prepared for such a gift.
Yet I must be prepared for such a gift. And so I will begin the day with this and spend 10 minutes contemplating these thoughts, with which I will end the day at night as well. When I am healed, I am not healed alone, and I want to share my healing with everyone, so that sickness may be banished from the awareness of perfect love's one extension, who is my only self.
Yeah. Thoughts on that?
No, it's just saying it's clear, actually. Yeah.
And you look at, Yeshua's example, he's a great example of this in the world. He awoke, he became enlightened, he healed, and then he dedicated his life to sharing that healing with everyone. Healing the sick, raising the dead, and so on, so that sickness may be banished from the mind of God's one Son, who is my only self. And his message was always, well, the healing comes when you recognize that there's only one Son. It was started by saying your sins are forgiven, because we're all one. So you can't be sinful if we're all one. That's not possible. Jewish leaders called it blasphemy, but they didn't really understand what he was talking about. They believed in the religion of the ego being separation and the sin and the guilt were part of it. So it was blasphemy in their thought system to say, well, your sins are forgiven. He said, who are you to say that? He said, well, I'm the son of man. Son of Man has power to forgive sins on earth. What he meant was, as human beings, we must forgive. We must let go of the misperceptions that bind us to this human condition. That's what he meant. They didn't understand it at all, did they? And in fact, most Christians don't. The language remains obscure to most people until you start translating it, then you understand. And within the context of the course, so this course helps you understand what really went down in the Bible. It's hugely helpful to understand the Gospels from a deeper perspective and understand what Jesus really taught and what his mission really was, and how it was grossly misunderstood, even by his closest disciples. So he's kind of set the record straight with this course. All right, so last paragraph, John. You want to read that?
I let healing happen through me today, and as I rest in quiet, I am prepared to give as I receive, to hold only what I give, and to receive the message of perfect love, to take the place of all the foolish thoughts that I ever imagined. Now we come together to make all that was sick well, and bless where there was attack. Nor will I forget this function as every hour of the day passes by, remembering my purpose with this thought. When I am healed, I am not healed alone. And I bless all my companions, for I want to be healed with them, as they are healed with me.
Oh, lovely thought.
Yes.
Extending out the light. And when we bring other people into it, you do feel an extension, an expansion within you. It gets you out of the obsessive compulsive selfing, being the little me that the ego specializes in. And so think of people who get really depressed and ill and sick, and it becomes all about them, their little self.
Yeah.
And healing that, protecting it, preserving it. Oh, poor me, honor. So such a victim because I'm suffering so much. I've got all these conditions and very obsessive, just me. And really, the healing would say, hang on, forget about yourself and start extending this love and this light that's actually within you. And then your body will naturally heal. So it's not healed by an obsessive focus on the self and healing an illusion of a body that's not even there. It's healed by allowing love to come through in your mind. And the best way of bringing it in is extending it to others. Well, to extend it, you must experience it. It's logical. You have to have it in your mind to extend it and express it. And the more you do that, the more the flow starts happening and you start unblocking. So the best way of healing is starting to get out of this obsessive compulsive obsession with yourself and saying, well, how can I help others? Which has worked since time immemorial. That's where you find healing. That's where you find your higher purpose. You just got to make the shift in your mind to be determined. Say, I'm going to really try and help others rather than just myself. And in blessing others, I'm really blessing myself. So I am helping myself actually, just on a higher level. But the ego doesn't want me to understand that. Okay, so we can leave it there, John, if you need to go. There's a summary which you're welcome to read if you want to, but if you need to go, then we can call it there. Shall we leave it there?
Yes, I think so, John. Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Anyway, very nice.
Well, thanks for joining.
Yeah. Thank you.
But you were kind of the second round of it. Elaine flagged out, so you came in and we did the lesson, which is really good. Great lesson. It synced nicely with the text. So yeah, all in all, made for a good session.
Yeah.
So I'll see you next week. I don't know if you got my message. I'm going to leave the recording.
Yeah, got that. Yeah. I can't do the session at 1 o'clock on Tuesday, Jono. Perhaps we could find another time.
Yeah, sure. Let me just stop the recording. Yeah. So and